Y'all, we need to start calling this show the Trauma House because there's a lot of trauma and drama at the house where the never ever mets are at, y'all. Anyway, welcome back. Hey, y'all, how y'all doing? This is the Brandy Yvonne channel. Here, on my channel, we do fun reviews, recaps, and discussions of all of our favorite shows. It is Friday night, so we got to talk about OWN's The Never Ever Have I Met You, The Never Ever Met Season 1, Episode 6, Pushing Beds and Boundaries. Before we get into y'all, I cannot speak. Please hit that thumbs up button. Do not hesitate to subscribe to the channel. Thank y'all for the new subs coming through. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all thought of the episode. If you're a new subscriber, shout me out. I'll shout back at you. And share this video where y'all like to share y'all's content. Um, for those who haven't seen it, all the videos from last week are posted. So last week's Never Ever Met, last week's Love and Marriage Huntsville, and last week's Summer House Martha's Vineyard. Okay, they're all posted. I did make a post in the community tab about it, so check it out after you watch this video. Okay, watch it all the way through. Okay, help the algorithm for people out here. Anyway, y'all, I feel like I ain't came to y'all on a Friday night right after the episode is so long. Ain't it been long? It's like I've had something to do every weekend, which I'm not mad at that. I like having stuff to do, but y'all know I like to be in the house too. Like I said, I like to be inside and outside at the same time. Anyway, let's get into this crazy old episode. Like, what is going on in this house? Like, it's too much, y'all. It's too much at this point. So, anyway, the episode basically picked up where they left off with Papa Aaron getting into it with Auntie Irene and them cursing each other out, and the producers had to come out and they gotta hold them back. Dymond got to hold Miss Irene back. They was cursing each other out, going off, and she's like, F you and your mama and your daddy and all this. So then they got Aaron and his friend Ronald outside. And so Aaron said he wasn't having an issue until he heard her saying, like, oh, what can she do? What can he do for you? What can he do for you? You could do better. And he was like, she don't know my job. She don't know my career. I said, oh, that's where it hurt. That's where she stung you at, huh? So Irene is telling Dymond, like, girl, if he gonna get into it with me and I fight dudes for free, what he think he gonna do to you? Like, girl, that's what he gonna do to you. And she was like, he wouldn't do that to me. She was like, you don't know what he would say or do to you. And I agree. If he can go off on your friend or your sister like that, he could definitely do you like that. Like, you see what he's capable of. So Dymond came outside to talk to Mr. Ronald and Papa Aaron. And so she was like, was you really gonna fight my sister like that? Like, was you gonna fight my sister? And he was like, no, I was not gonna fight her. He's like, when's the last time you see me get in a fight? And so the friend was like, since middle school, maybe. And so he's like, I wasn't gonna fight her. And she was like, okay, but you calling her a B word? Like, why are you calling her a B word? And then he was like, cause she acting like one. Cause she acting like one. And she was like, if you would do that to her, then what are you gonna call me? And he was like, I would never call you out your name like that. That's not my character, sir. You done showed us your character time and time again on this show. Your character is foul. So I'll put nothing past you, Papa Aaron. Okay, you and your black fingernail polish. You better go on somewhere. Anyway, that man is so out of line. Like, he is so out of line. Even, and we're gonna talk about later in the episode when he tried to tell Zaddy Matthews something. I'm gonna explain who that is in a minute. Like, stay in your lane, sir. Stay in your lane. So anyway, um Miss Irene is, she's still going off about Papa Aaron. And Ronald was like, oh, do you think she's jealous? I forgot to mention that. Ronald, and so Aaron was like, yeah, she just, look how she look. Nobody's jealous of Papa Aaron. Don't nobody want Papa Aaron but Dymond. Okay. Anyway, so Irene is going off. She's telling Dymond, like, well, Dymond's like, girl, he wasn't gonna fight you. She was like, you don't know that. Like, you don't know that. So she's still going off. Producer came out and she's like, I'm ready to go. She put on her rap. She said, I'm ready to go. Where my van at? I'm ready to go. So the producer came out and she's like, okay, come with me, Miss Irene. Dymond went in the house. Dymond was upset. She had Millie come in there with her. And Millie, was trying to comfort her and said, she's telling the truth, but sometimes the truth hurts, but, she really loves and cares for you. Aaron came in there to check on Dymond. And so then Dymond and Aaron end up having Miss Irene and Uncle Ronald left. And so Dymond and Aaron sat on the sofa. Aaron did apologize. he said, it escalated and started because when he came in the room, he introduced his friend, and Miss Irene had that bad look on his face. He said something about if looks can kill, and he said he didn't like how she was saying she could do better and all that. She can do better. Dymond girl, you could do better. You really could do better. You're a very beautiful girl. You could do better. I don't know what you see in Papa Aaron, but go on, girl. Maybe it's because he likes BBWs and she don't. I don't know. I don't want to get into all that. But anyway, so he did apologize and he said it shouldn't have got like that. And Dymond's just sitting there. I was like, girl, you need to leave. Both of y'all need to leave. Both of y'all need to leave. So he's helping. He said in his confession that he hopes that she takes his side of it. Girl, like she don't need to take your side. She said, and he said maybe down the line they could still be cordial and be cool. I don't see it, but okay. So she said in her confessional, like, she's glad that he's taking accountability. However, it doesn't excuse his behavior. That was foul, and that's who he is. And girl, if you don't see it, then all right, there ain't nothing we can do to help you. All right, so moving on. Thank God. We see next day Chris and Sandia. I think they're in the kitchen doing something. Chris said the sexual tensions is building up between him and Sandia. She looking at him with the little flirty eyes, and he could tell she wanted and all this stuff. And he trying to get her to come in the shower with her. He said he gonna pound her or something. He's stupid, he said. And they showed a clip because he's in the bed with Sandia, but Aaron J, grandson Aaron, is in the bed in the room with them. And I guess he had later on they showed that he had passed gas or something. And Chris is like, dude, like, well, he asked him, like, do you want to leave the room? Like, you want to go find Jody? And he didn't leave the room. So Chris is like, dang, I can't get a moment with Sandia, and the boom boom room is tied up. So I think Josh and Shay pretty much took over the boom boom room, I think, or Chris and Dymond, either one. So he can't get a moment alone, like a night alone with Sandia, because at this point, all the couples are pretty much sleeping in the same bed together, except for Lil Aaron and Joanna. And we're going to get into that because that's going to become an issue later on. So anyway, moving on. Then we see Papa Aaron outside with Greg and Josh. And Chris comes outside. Now he's wearing Sandia's jacket. I was like, sir, where's your jacket? And he's like, oh, it's so cold out here. I want to come out here and freeze. But, Sandia's jacket real little and tight. Now I wonder what time of year is this? Because this is Southern California. I'm thinking it could be Santa Barbara, but I could be wrong about the location. But they're definitely near a beach. They're near the coast. I mean, it does get cold near the coast for sure here. But it couldn't have been summertime because Jesus, it looks like it's cold and rainy there all the time. Like it must have been like fall or like winter or something. I don't know. Anyway, so they're standing outside talking, and Greg asked Chris like, "Hey, would you be willing to have a conversation with Millie if I pull Millie aside? Like, you want to have a conversation with her? Because remember, Millie and Chris got into it last week. So Chris is like, yeah, he's willing to have a conversation with Millie. So this part was so." It was just confusing. Like, I don't know what we arguing about. Like, I don't know how we even got here, right? So Chris and Millie go sit down. Now, Greg left the room. Part of me felt like Greg could have stayed. But okay, he don't need to be there. It ain't like he intimidating Chris or something. I don't know. Anyway, so Chris is saying like, hey, we got heated last time we talked. Do you agree? And she's like, yeah. And so he's like, yeah, you call me a B word. And she's like, yeah. And so he's like, what happened? Where did we go wrong? And so she was like, yeah, you was asking everybody. And you asked Josh a question, you asked Greg a question, and you got to meet, and it's like you didn't want to hear what I had to say. So that's why I called you a B, because I feel like that time you was disrespecting me because you asking everybody else. But then when it's to my time to talk, you don't want to talk to me. So I feel like you just disrespected me. And at that point, you made a fool of me. She's like, I felt like you called me a B. Now, mind you, he didn't ever call her a B yet. Yeah. He never called her a B, right? So I don't know how she felt like he was calling her a B in that moment. Now, I personally don't remember him like, I remember she got hit and she's like, you don't want me to say that, don't say that. But I don't remember her like him like totally cutting her off in that way. But I don't know. I don't want to rewatch the episode. Maybe he did. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. So then she wasn't like raising her voice, but now he's like, oh, you're raising your voice at me. I was like, sir, that's not raising your voice. So Chris is one of the men, like he can't stand women talking to him in any kind of way or trying to give him any kind of correction. So in that regard, I understand why Millie got heated, but then it was unnecessary. And then she was like, "Yeah, I'm calling you a B word again." And she was like, "You talk to Sandia crazy, but you not." And she's a soft-spoken woman, but you're not gonna talk to me like that. And then she's saying like how he doesn't like to be told anything by women, and next thing we know, it's escalating, and she's shouting at him. So he gets mad. He walks away. She's like, "I'm trying to tell you, you always are running away. When it's someone's trying to speak the truth to you, you're always running away. You run away like a little bee, and you don't want to be mad. Just stay here and stay here and say you're not a real man. Stay here and do that." Now he ain't gonna do that, girl. Millie was like dead wrong, but right at the same time, like I didn't even know who to support or defend in this moment because it was like wrong and wrong and wrong. Like Chris don't like being told nothing. He don't like being corrected. He don't like a woman that can stand up to him. And he does talk down to Sandia. True. Period. He could not handle what Millie was saying to him. Very, very true, right? Um, however, Millie, you just came in a bit hot for me. Like I didn't know how we got from 0 to 100 so quick. Like she just went way left field and calling him a B word. Like Millie, you was a bit unnecessary for me. Not to say Chris don't deserve the smoke that she gave him because he did, but she was very, very much unnecessary. Like she could have handled it in a different way. Like the way she was cursing him out, it was like whoa, whoa, whoa. So then Millie, so Chris left the room. He would tell Greg, like, dude, I try to have a talk with her, but she's on here calling me a B. She's doing this and that. She's escalating all that. So then Greg was like, what? Like, what happened? So then Millie went to wherever I guess they were, and then she was like, no, he don't want to talk because I try to explain it. So she shouted. Next thing you know, they both shouting at each other. They trying to get at each other. You see Sandia and Aaron J got to hold back Chris, and Greg's trying to hold Millie. Dymond was walking through. Like I was like, what? And so then he was like, yeah, you know what? Da, da, da. He's going off on her. He called her a slut. Now I gasped. I was like, oh. When he called her a slut, I was like, did he just call her a slut? That was foul. Like that was uncalled for. And he was like, and then she was like, yeah, I heard, she started talking about his sex game, talking about the thing is little. Guess where I heard it from? I was like, I bet Sandia. No, just kidding. Probably though. And so then he's called her names, called her slut. You the loosest woman in the house. He's like, let me see your bank account. I was like, what the bank account got to do with anything? So he's talking trash about her. She's calling him names, talking about him. And it just got really heated. So Greg went to talk to Millie, and Millie was like, I was trying to, apologize to him, but he always runs away from arguments. He don't want anyone to, talk to him and tell him anything and all this stuff. Now, Millie, you wasn't telling the story quite right. And Chris was like, I went there trying to speak to her in a calm way. And he's in the room talking to Sandia at this point, and Aaron H comes in, Papa come in. And he's like, I went there trying to talk in a calm way, and like I don't understand. And Sandia's like, oh my gosh, with him like supporting her man. Sandia, we finna get into you. So Aaron H is like, yeah, she definitely don't need to be calling people a B word. Like that's when things can go real left. And I agree. Nobody should be disrespecting each other. Millie, you had one too many B words, girl. I'm sorry. You had one too many B words. Does Chris like to be corrected and told anything, especially by a woman? No. She's right. Everything she's calling out about Chris is right. No, I'm not taking that from her. She's right about how she calling him out. It was just her approach was just dead wrong. It was just dead wrong. And him calling her a slut and all the stuff he called her was dead wrong too. Like, Chris, you can go. And Sandia, if that's the type of man you like, that's gonna call somebody a slut like that and all that. And then Chris gonna fix his mouth to say, oh yeah, if a woman going off on you like that, she must like you. She don't like you, sir. And she said something about him being short too. Like, she don't like you. No, she don't. No. And so Greg is like, he don't understand like why Millie is so activated. I was like, yeah, Greg, you got a lot on your plate, sir. You got a lot on your plate with that one. So then later on in the kitchen, I think we see Greg and Shay and I'm trying not to sneeze, y'all. Greg, Shay's doing dishes, Sandia and Millie in the kitchen, and they're kind of rehashing it. And so Millie was like, he, saying the same thing again. He runs away from these discussions, and I was trying to go to him and apologize, and Sandia's like, the thing is, he don't like when somebody raises his voice though. That's the thing he doesn't like. And he's trying to come at you being respectful, and he would never call somebody out their name. But if he's being disrespected, he's gonna give disrespect back and da 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 da. And if he's getting heated and you get heated, okay, but if he's not calling you a name, then you shouldn't be calling him a name. And I was like, Sandia, girl, that was the loudest. I kid y'all not. That was the loudest I ever heard Sandia speak. I was like, oh, Sandia can speak. Sandia can speak. Girl, you defended Chris that hard, but you couldn't defend yourself when he was disrespecting you. He called you weak-minded. Girl, bye. I was like, Sandia, girl, just stop. Like, I just can't take Sandia. Sorry. Girl, bye. Anyway, defend your man, I guess. So, moving on. I'm gonna jump ahead. I'm gonna jump forward a little bit. So at one point we see Aaron H, Pawpaw Aaron go to the pool or the hot tub with Greg and Chris. And they're asking him about his situation with Dymond, and he's saying how Dymond is the one for her and she is perfect and he ain't seen no flaws with her yet. Chris was like, he needs to look again. Now, I don't know what these pink printed shorts on that Papa had on, but I need him to not do it again. So he said he plans to propose to her before they leave this house. Because Greg was like, what's going to happen? Like, is she going to move here to California? You going to move there? Like, what's going on? So Aaron does live here in California. I'm curious what part of California he lives in. Like, if it's down there in Southern California, probably. Or if it's up here, up north. I hope it ain't up north of me. Anyway. But California is pretty big, so who knows? So he said he's going to propose to her and all that. Okay, we'll see. Y'all dated 5 years online and you couldn't even come see her? I guess. He's talking about this experience is once in a lifetime. You get to see how people really are when you live with them. All right. I just jumped ahead to get that scene out the way. So anyway, I think now we're moving to where grandson Aaron, aka Aaron J, is excited because his dad is coming to the house. And Jody has her friend Cam coming to the house, right? So Aaron's dad is named Matthew. Matthew was a good-looking man, okay? He was a good-looking man. Aaron said he's excited to have his dad come. He's very excited to have his dad come. And he said, he doesn't have a lot of family besides his son in Atlanta. I said, oh, he got a son? Okay. So he's happy to see his dad. He says he's been very open with his dad even as a teenager. His dad already knew what was up. So he's sharing with, Zaddy Matthew. I'm gonna call him Zaddy Matthew because he looked like a Zaddy. He looks so young. Anyway, he was saying how, their relationship is crazy with him and Jody. And speaking of him and Jody, side note, they had a little conversation on the bed talking about basically saying they ain't got to share everybody with what they doing and they don't need to explain themselves and it's wild. No, y'all are playing everybody's face. Nobody cares. Anyway, back to the scene when Matthew came. Zaddy Matthew came. So he's telling his dad how he's kind of intimidated with the fact that Jody is a sexologist and he don't want to, do the wrong thing because she knows, all the things and he don't want to hit it wrong and all that. And so he was like, well, actually, so Matthew said, well, actually, that's intriguing. And if that's her field, like you shouldn't. He was like, come on, the Mac Daddy. I was like, you giving your son too much credit. You giving him too much credit. And so he was like, come on, like you shouldn't be intimidated by that. And he's like, this is a gold mine for you because trust me, like if that's her field, she's going to tell you exactly what she wants. And he was like, take it as a learning and a growth experience and don't be intimidated by it. Now he did give him very good advice, right? Now they all go in the kitchen and Aaron H, Papa Aaron, Mr. the elder in the house. First of all, I'm not taking no advice from you when you just went off on people last episode and this episode. I'm not taking no advice from you, sir. Sorry. So, he says in his confessional that he gonna take this time to talk to grandson Aaron's dad, his biological dad, because he sees Aaron as a son to him, and he wants Aaron's dad, Aaron J's dad, to see how Jody is and see that Jody is not really here for Aaron and peep out their relationship and all that. So he gonna talk to Zaddy Matthew. Now I'm like, Aaron H, Papa, this is none of your business. Again, this is what I'm talking about. You're out of line and out of bounds. Mind the business that pays you, sir. 10 to Dymond. That's what you need to be doing. And worrying about that other lady you proposed to and putting it on Facebook. That's why Irene is mad. That's what you need to be worried about. But you too busy worrying about what Aaron J got going on. I was so irritated by that, y'all. So he's in the kitchen telling Matthew about how Jody, like, pay attention to Jody, and I don't think she is really here for him, and I can guarantee you that this ain't gonna be his last stop. Like, he gonna find somebody else, and their relationship, they're the only ones in the house who not, haven't really bonded like that, haven't done anything. And so Matthew was like, well, why is that an issue? Like, what's the problem? And then Aaron's just like, I'm telling you, just, you have the dad. He's like, because I see your son kind of like my son as the elder in the house, like me and you, we in the 50 club, right? Sir, stop. Matthew took it with a, like, but you can tell he had a smirk on his face, like, boy, please stop talking to me, man. Stop talking to me. So Aaron J said in his confessional, like, he's all right with the other Aaron sharing that stuff, but at the same time, he's like, where is this coming from? So now Pam or Cam, Jody's friend Cam came to visit, and they're happy to see each other. She said she's dealing with a friend group on her own because usually it's her and Jody against them. Wonder what that's about. Anyway, Jody shares with her about her and Aaron's first date and how it didn't really go well, and they haven't, because Cam is asking about the physical. She said they ain't really got into it. And so she said she knows, she could be a man eater. And Jody is saying she doesn't want to rush into anything and then she gets bored. So she's been big on her boundaries and all that stuff, right? Okay, girl. So anywho, then, Matthew comes in there and meets Cam, and Cam talks to Aaron and all that good stuff. So they all sit down and talk, and Matthew asked Jody, does she think this will sustain and last? She's like, I don't know. As long as we're not having, a lot of outside influences involved, like, it could possibly work. And he told Jody, like, kind of let your guard down, like, basically give him a chance, give Aaron a chance, because he really is trying. And he gave good advice. And Cam said that, you don't have to go by everybody else's norms. Everybody thinks that things should be this way, and they try to put their social norms on you, and you can do whatever you want. And so they were just like pumping him up, kind of going along with Aaron and Jody's stories, basically what I got from that. And so Zaddy Matthew asked Jody, like, oh, I hear you're a salsa dancer. And so she was like, yes. And so they had a little cha-cha slide, 1-2 step cha-cha salsa moment. That was the most I seen Jody light up in this episode, besides when she talking to Chris. I said, don't let Zaddy Matthew steal your girl, Aaron. He gonna let his daddy steal his girl. And he was really doing his cha-cha salsa, okay? I said, you must did teach Aaron how to do that, because on that first day, he didn't have it. He didn't remember the steps, okay? He need a rebrief before you leave the house tonight. So Aaron was telling Cam, like, dang, that's how I should have did it. She was like, yeah, she told me how you messed up on that. I'm like, your daddy could salsa that well. What was you doing? You wasn't paying attention to the lessons, apparently. So Jody's like, oh my God. Her and Cam was like, she needed that. Yes, it was her rebirth. That probably made the girl tingle. That's how you make the girl tingle, little Aaron. Okay. So anyway, Matthew was like, it's haters, y'all gonna be good. So him and Cam left. All right, they not haters. They calling it what they see. But okay, Zaddy Matthew, whatever you say. So anyway, so, like I said, they left the house. Okay, moving forward. So then we see another scene where the men all gather together to talk to grandson Aaron J. And they're like, at this point, well, Aaron H leads the conversation, of course, because he's the elder and they want to take his advice. No, we don't. So anyway, he said, we all in the house together. And, when we first got here, they had the men and the women separated quite naturally because nobody knew each other well and all that. He's like, now we've been here for some time and everyone's paired off. This one's in this room, this one's in that room. And Chris talked about how Aaron J's in the room and they can hear him passing gas when him and Sandia are in the bed. And so they played the clip of that, and he said something about you. He stood up talking, y'all can hear my booty burst. I was like, ugh. Sit down, sir. When you say stuff like that, no, that's why that lady is not tingling. Anywho, yeah, that Aaron, I don't even want to go there. Anyway, um, so they're like, yeah, dude, like you need to be in the bed with your girl. Like at this point, like you need to like what y'all doing? Y'all need to move things forward. So Chris's thing is like, we just want y'all want to be all to be on the same page and like we all, coupled up with our girls and you the only one, like everybody in a separate room at this point. Like, what you doing? Like basically they want every couple to be together. So everybody would basically have their own room because they figured it out. And so they're like, yeah, you could there's plenty of room. Even if y'all don't want to be in the same bed, y'all can put the two twin beds together. And so they're like, let's just do it now because y'all about to go to bed tonight anyway. So they go and move the beds, but Aaron J did tell Josh he scoot the beds back away from each other because he know how Jody is. And Josh was like, hey, your woman, do what you got to do. So then it got to be nighttime. And now they're in the room. Now it's hella twin beds in that room they were in. And I'm assuming that's everybody else's bed who is not sleeping in there, right? For the men or the women. So Aaron said he's laying in bed. He couldn't sleep. Now, Jody is in the twin bed that's next to his, but it wasn't pushed together yet. And he said he started thinking about what the men were saying. So he was feeling pressured. So he screwed the beds together. And then I guess he had like gave her Jody a kiss on the forehead in the morning or the middle of the night. And she woke up like Michael Myers. She was ready to swing on him. My thing is y'all could have just slept in the room without you pushing the beds together. Like if like you said, how Jody is, like you could just slept in the bed and not push them together. I think he was trying to test the limits and see what she would do or say, right? So the next morning, Jody was not pleased. She was like, I can't believe like what you did. Like I did not like waking up to that kiss on the forehead. She said, I know people like to cuddle in the bed and do all this and that. She said she's not that girl. She is not the one. She said she felt like Aaron kind of, messed up and broke their trust. And she's like, my limits, what the trauma I've been through. So why would you do that? And he was like, yeah, I did let the guys kind of peer pressure me. And he did apologize. And he's like, I want to make sure you feel safe and all that. And so she just feels like she, doesn't know if he's going to respect her boundaries and all that stuff. I got mixed feeling about Jody. Like, I'll get to it. I'm gonna hold that. Anyway, at some point, and I'm skipping around a little bit. At some point, we see Millie and Greg talking to each other, and Millie was basically explaining to Greg some of the trauma she went through, and saying, she's been R-word before, and she blamed herself. She said she shouldn't have been at that house at the time it was, the type of people it was, and people roughed her up, and she knew she should have left, and now she's really defensive and she's on guard, and people say she could be, and men say she could be a lot, but this is why she is the way she is. And he was comforting her and patting her hand and saying he's sorry she went through that and all that stuff. And he was like, don't worry, I'm gonna, have strength for you. And she's like, I don't need you to have strength for me. I don't need, I don't need a man. I don't need anyone to be there for me. And he's like, no, everybody needs people. And then she kind of broke down and cried, and he was holding her. And I just feel bad that she blames herself. Like, I hope that Millie really gets the help and therapy that she needs. Like, I think that she does not need to be in this experience, because she said she could talk about it, but she still thinks about it, and she's human and all that. I don't know. I don't know if she's healed from it. I can't say she is or not, because I'm not in her experience. I just, we just pray that she is getting some healing and some help. And then that just sucks what she's been through. And I hate that she feels like she has to blame herself. Like, that's horrible, y'all. That's so horrible. Poor Millie. Anyway, but I didn't have a problem with the way Greg handled it. He held her, he comforted her the best he could. I think it was a lot for him to take in, though, right? It looked like it was a lot for him to take in. And, we get to the therapy session later, which is at the end. And even in that moment when it was just her and him talking about it, I could tell it was heavy for him in a different way, right? So him having his own trauma kind of made sense to me. So anyway, later on, we seen Jody in the kitchen, and Josh asked about what happened with her and Aaron. And then she was like, yeah, she didn't like that. And, Aaron knows what she's been through, and she explains, and Chris is in the kitchen as well. So she explains like the, sexual trauma she's went through and how she's been R-worded. And they're like, oh my gosh, we didn't know that. And Chris apologizes. He's like, we truly didn't know that. And she says, so certain things for her, like certain touches, certain things are triggers for her. And she, Aaron knew what she's been through and he should have respected that. And he should not push the beds together and been trying to do extra. So Chris explains that, it's kind of our fault because we did pressure him because, everyone's coupled up and we wanted him to, go sleep with his girl. He said, I truly never knew you went through what you went through and we had no malicious intent behind it. And she said, no, I understood. And so Jody says in her confessional, like she wants to get to know everybody better. And, she has to explain this part of her. And yeah, that's why she's very rational and not emotional. And she knows it's a trauma response, but that is who she is. And then she also was sharing with them that the reason why she became a sex therapist is because of what she went through and she wasn't feeling comfortable with sex. So she wanted to learn about it and study it and even, overdo it. So that way other people who may have had similar traumas to her that are not comfortable, she can help them through like the way she went through, which I think is a good thing. I feel bad for what Jody has went through as well. And I hope that she is getting the healing and the help that she needs. It seems like to me, her and Millie may not be fully healed, that they may need to do some therapy. The other thing with Jody, I don't want to sound mean when I say this, so please nobody take it wrong. I guess she's been through trauma, and I'm sure a lot of the way that she's behaving on the screen is trauma responses. I don't think that's the full reason she's taking her time with Aaron. Now we see they're gonna have some sexual chemistry next week, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But it's looking like you just don't like him, and that you're not his type either. That's what it looks like. More than a trauma response from her. Like Millie, I see her having the trauma response with Greg. And I'm not saying Millie and Jody's reaction or responses should be the same in no kind of way. No. I'm just saying with Jody, it just looked like you don't like him like that, girl. And that you're not his type. That's what it looked like. But I'm not negating from the fact that she is having some trauma responses from what she's went through. I'm not saying that's not a possibility or what's going on as well. Okay. Like I said, we just hope and pray for healing for Jody and Millie, right? So in the last scene, we do see Millie and Greg go outside, and Taronda's out there as well as Dr. Allie. So Taronda said, I heard, Millie, that you wanted to have a talk with Greg about your expectations in your relationship, as well as share with him some things you've been through. So I got my good girlfriend, Dr. Allie, here, and she's a relationship therapist. She said she has a PhD in that. And she's going to help you, discuss this with Greg. So the therapist asked, Millie about what she's been through specifically, because Millie kind of said it in a vague way. And so she said, can you tell me specifically what that was? And so she said, she's been R-worded and she moved to California when she was 22. She didn't have no place to go, nowhere to live. And she got kind of mixed up with the wrong people and different things happened to her. Now she kept like pulling on her hair and touching her hair as she's talking about it. So the therapist said, okay, are you safe? You're safe now, right? And Millie said, yes, I'm safe. And so Greg is like, I'm sorry that happened to her. That's really unfortunate. And I think he kind of had his hand on her hand. And so then she said, that's why she goes 0 to 10 real quick. Greg says 9.5, it's 10. So she said, when people, she feels like someone is attacking her, she's always got to feel like she's on the defensive. That's just how she is. And so the therapist was like, well, yeah, it's understandable. Like when you get those triggers, you remember the trauma you had, like the smell, what you heard, what you saw, like it all comes back to you. And so she basically told Greg, like, you can kind of help her when she's kind of getting amped up. She was like, I noticed you touch your hair when you're talking about it. So he was like, so the therapist was telling Greg, like, when you see Millie like touching her hair or, she's getting amped up, that you can be the safe space and be the one to kind of help calm her down. Now, I feel like that's great if Greg can do that. I don't know if Greg is ready to do that yet, right? I don't think we're there yet for Greg to have to do that. I think that's a lot to take on, and we're just meeting in person, but they have been dating for 3 years. Hopefully Greg is ready to do that, right? That's a lot. Not to say Millie's not worth it. Yeah, somebody, like she said, the guys run when they hear it. So hopefully Greg is not the one that runs away. But I'm not saying that's an easy position for Greg to play as well. And yes, Millie is the victim. So I'm not saying that like Greg is the victim, but y'all know what I mean. So anyway, the therapist points, she asks Greg, you know, how does he feel hearing all this stuff Millie is saying? She's like, I noticed you were kind of looking off in the distance when she was talking, and I could see that like you might have had your own like kind of trauma response from it as well. And so she was like, you know, is there something you want to share? And so Greg said he has been through his own trauma before. He's like, yeah, it's very unfortunate what happened to Millie, but yeah, I have been through my own trauma before. And he said he's never shared this before and he doesn't want to talk about it. He's kind of just erased those memories from his mind. Now, while he's saying that he's never shared his own trauma, Millie's like she's doing all this, right? And I was like, girl, what are you doing? What are you doing? So Dr. Allie's like, well, Millie, I see you're having all these reactions and expressions. Like, what's going on? And then she's like, no, because like every time I tell him I went through something, you see how he doesn't know how to handle it. Now he's telling me he's went through his own trauma. And so I'm just like, Millie, you want him to be a safe space for you, but then you're not going to be a safe space for him. Like now he can't say he had trauma. Like, dang. Like I get where she's coming from, but dang. So the therapist was saying, well, I think that both of you guys have went through trauma and it's hard for you guys to try to be there for each other when you need to be there for yourself first. And true that, Dr. Allie, right? So they basically ended the episode before Greg told what he's been through. So we don't know yet. We will find out next episode. So we also are hoping and praying for healing and therapy for Greg as well. That's what I'm saying. It's the trauma drama house. Everybody been through it. But next week's episode looks like it will be good. We see Josh and Shay gonna have some drama as well, y'all. It's this experiment has went so far left, it's crazy. But this show is so wild to me, y'all. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what y'all thought of this episode. And I will talk to y'all again soon. Bye.